Welcome to Unit 7, Deviance. This is Chapter 10 in your textbook, Deviance and Crime. So what will I learn in this video? Define and distinguish between deviance and crime. Understand the socially constructed nature of deviance. Distinguish between informal and formal social control. So let's review norms. So norms are social expectations that guide behavior and interaction, what we do in all social situations. Sanctions. Positive sanctions to reward conformity to normative behavior. Negative sanctions to punish deviance from normative behavior. And folkways? Folkways are informal norms, customs we participate in on a daily basis. There are no serious consequences for violating these norms. For example, lining up for the bus. Mores? Norms that are considered to be of great moral significance, so they are widely observed and highly regulated. Violating these norms may result in fines, banishment, arrest, or other serious consequences, like drinking and driving. So what is deviance? So let's begin with an understanding of the concept of social deviance. When a norm is violated, it's referred to as deviance. We often think of the word deviance as something that is negative, but it's not something negative. It simply means that it's different from what society in general considers to be normal. So if a person deviates from the norm, that doesn't always mean they're doing something bad or immoral. Deviance is relative. It depends on the social context. Standards for deviance can change, and they do change over time. Click on the next slide in the PowerPoint to watch sociological deviance, or watch the video clip now.
No, it's like the creepiest thing ever. I know.
I just saw people walking out in a single file line, and then they say nothing. Nothing. Well, there was a couple of people. Yeah, a couple people were just like, no.
So let's learn a little bit about sociology. In sociology, we have this term called norms. Norms is societal expectations of behavior. We can break these down into two camps: either big ones, which we call mores, or little ones, which are folkways. Mores are things like murder or robbing a bank or cheating on a partner. And folkways are smaller things, but that are still, kind of rules of the road, so to speak. So things like, don't belch in public, or if I stick my hand out, you should shake it. Or if I say, hey, how's it going? I really don't want to know your life story. When someone breaks a societal norm, we call this an act of deviance. Deviance means to deviate from whatever the societal norm is. When this happens, there's typically social sanctions. So this could be something as small as people giving you a crazy look, like, what are you doing? Or it could be something as big as, say, jail time, or even the death penalty. One of the most pervasive social norms in our culture is the norm of activity, of doing something. Even when you're not doing anything, you're doing something. As an example of this, think about what people do at an airport when they're waiting for a flight to come in. They don't just stand motionless with no expression on their face. They fidget, they fix their hair, they fix their clothing, they have a cell phone out, they are playing on that, they're reading a magazine. So even when we have nothing to do, we have to do something. It's expected of us. And if you don't, you're considered kind of a weirdo. So I got to thinking, what if I took my class of 262 students and had them go into a public place and do nothing? How would people react? What would people do? Would people think that they were creepy, scary, or maybe weird, or even, God forbid, crazy? Well, I wanted to find out. So here's what happened.
I don't know if I want to keep moving because everybody stopped and stuff. Man, because there's too many people to be a class. So it ain't a class.
You're doing nothing. She said she's doing nothing. But you're doing something. What's this for out here?
What were you feeling while doing nothing?
I was amused. Just the people at the tables were freaking out. They were like, what are these people doing? And they kept asking like everybody to see if they would get a different answer. I mean, I saw one guy get in another guy's face about it, like right up in his face. And he was like, what are you doing? And I don't know, I was just like, why is this so serious?
Look at people's reaction. They're like, oh, they're playing freeze tag. We gotta go unfreeze them. No.
That's pretty good.
I really didn't know what to expect. I was kind of eager to see what people were going to do. People were just like watching and laughing.
I really didn't expect people to stop and stare the way they did. I mean, I expected a few strange looks, but there was actually a crowd outside of our circle going on. It was really strange.
I definitely did not expect that people would take so much notice of us. We were doing something as simple as standing there. And if I was doing anything like texting on the phone or listening to music, no one would pay attention. But when you're doing something that's outside of the norm, everyone stops and takes notice.
I was very amused because people looked so baffled and really confused about what was happening. And some people even looked outraged, and it just made me laugh.
You could hear some really odd remarks that you didn't expect, or that I didn't expect. Some people got angry. They were like, oh, we should go push some people or like punch somebody in the face or stuff like that. So
They, like the people walking around, would just, like they would honestly stop. They'd like whisper to their friends like, what's going on? Then they'd stare and they'd be like, is this a class? And a couple people were like, are they in trouble? Like, is this like a punishment for something? And they would like just stare. And then when we started clapping and walking away, they were just like, oh, okay, I'm going to class. And I was just like, all right, well, see you later. So.
Flash mob, is that what they call it?
What's a flash mob?
Where they do stuff out of the norm.
Yeah.
So what the students were doing, would you consider that deviance? If deviance is any behavior, belief, or condition that violates cultural norms of the society or group in which it occurs. So the definition of deviance does vary across time, cultures, and situations. Deviance is relative. So, Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty by reason of cultural relativism. So what is relative in your culture? So what is deviant? What do you consider deviant? Are tattoos deviant? Are nose piercings deviant? Are body modifications deviant? Are all body modifications deviant? And how do you decide what is deviant? What about social protests? Ones that are passive? Perhaps ones that are more active or on strike? Peaceful protests. Dr. Martin Luther King in the March on Washington. What about the Stonewall riots? This is 1969, when the police rioted Stonewall, and people who were American gays rose up. And that was the beginning of the Pride parades. This is 25 years later with a peaceful demonstration. So what is deviant across time? So consider how someone who is a conflict theorist might approach the perspective that deviance is about power, the gap between the rich and the poor. So let's look at this classic question on X. What's considered trashy if you're poor, but classy if you're rich? Government handouts. Living off money you did not directly earn. So being rich, positive label, an identity. Deviance and conformity, not because of what people do, but because of how others respond to these actions. Something is deviant because it is labeled deviant. Conformity is alteration of our behavior, attitudes, and points of view to fit the expectations of appropriateness. What is appropriate, and who is the person or people who decide what is appropriate? Relative means that the perception of something changes depending on its context. So, gambling. Is it okay to buy a bingo card? Is it okay to buy a lottery ticket? Is it okay to gamble at a casino? At what point does gambling become deviance? What is accepted in one community or society may be rejected or punished in another. So, for example, toilet seats are the norm in Canada. We all expect to have toilet seats, but they're considered unsanitary in other countries. Marijuana was culturally normative in Canada before it was legal. And 2S LGBTQIA+ relationships are legally recognized in Canada, but are punishable by death in other countries. We have social control, systematic practices developed by social groups to encourage conformity and to discourage deviance. So we have the stereotype. Then we have the division of us versus them. Then we have low social status, leads to discrimination, which leads to labeling, which reinforces the stereotype, which leads to division, which leads to low social status, which leads to discrimination, which leads to labeling, and on it goes. Social control refers to the institutions and procedures that force members of society to conform to norms. Formal social control gives specific people the responsibility of enforcing certain norms using specific methods. So, for example, police enforcing formal norms through criminal law. Informal social control is exercised by regular people. It works because people seek the approval of others, and guilt and shame can be powerful means of social control. Okay, so let's try this experiment. This is called a Stroop test. S-T-R-O-O-P, Stroop test. And it's used by neuropsychologists to test for cognitive abilities like processing speed automatically and attention for persons with ADHD or traumatic brain injury or repetitive concussive disorder. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. In that time, I want you to read the color of the letters in each word, not the actual word. So like this: green, red, blue, and so on. My apologies to those of you who are colorblind and cannot participate in this simulation. Try and read all the words correctly in 30 seconds. If you make a mistake, you must start over again with the first word. Oh, on your marks, get set, go. So that was 30 seconds. How did you do? How many times did you have to start over again? I can usually make it to about here before I mess up. Stigma and mental health. Again, with this circle of labeling and stigma, labeling, stereotypes, division, low social status, discrimination. So why things are considered deviant? We know that deviance varies according to cultural norms, and deviance varies across time. Symbolic interactions suggest that something is deviant only because it is labeled as deviant by society, and labeling can stigmatize and become self-fulfilling prophecy. While Sheen may have addiction issues, what is interesting about this clip is his steadfast refusal to allow the interviewer or society to label his behavior as deviant and to stigmatize him. Watch the ways in which he resists labeling and stigmatization.
Your anger and your hate, I think, is coming off as erratic to people.
Passion, my passion. It's all
okay,
passion.
Your passion
yes.
is coming off as erratic
right.
to people.
Well, you borrow my brain for 5 seconds and just be like, dude, can't handle it. Unplug this bastard. Yeah, because it fires in a way that is, I don't know, maybe not from this particular terrestrial realm.
I think some of those things that you're putting out there are making people think something's wrong with you.
That has nothing to do with me, really. I mean, they're entitled to, I suppose, interpret stuff as they must. What are you a doctor of?
Some are saying that you're bipolar.
Wow, what does that mean?
I guess that, you know, you're on 2 ends of the spectrum.
Wow. And then what? What's the cure? Medicine? Make me like them? Not gonna happen. I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what? If I'm bipolar, aren't there moments where a guy like crashes in the corner like, oh my God, it's all my mom's fault? Shut up. Shut up. Stop. Move forward.
Have you had any celebrities reach out to you to try and help you?
Yeah, like radical people like Sean Penn and Mel Gibson and Colin Farrell and just radical people, and they're not telling me what to do.
Who gave you the best piece of advice?
Well, they didn't give me any advice, and within that, there's great advice. It was just love, and so just to see. It's oftentimes says unknown, but occasionally, a giant marquee name comes through on your caller ID, and it's like winning.
When was the last time you used?
I use a blender, I use a vacuum cleaner, I use, household items. When was the last time I ingested or took drugs?
Yes, when was the last time you took drugs?
Such an AA stupid expression or term. I don't remember. I do not remember.
A week ago, 2 weeks ago,
Maybe a month
2 days ago.
6 weeks. I don't know. It was a couple days before the suits rolled in and said, change everything. We're shutting you down.
Tell me about the last time you took drugs.
The last time I took drugs, I probably took more than anybody could survive.
What are we talking about? How much?
I don't know, man. I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed. I have one gear. Go.
How do you survive that?
Because I'm me. Because I'm me. I'm different. I just have a different constitution. I have a different brain. I have a different heart. I have a different, I get tiger blood, man.
You don't worry that you're going to die when you take that many drugs?
Dying's for fools.
But you're only human.
Now, there's certain blends I will not entertain because that's how people go down. I'm too smart to do that. So, I'm sorry for the guys that happened to, but you should have read the directions before you showed up at the party.
So you actually have a strategy about how you take your drugs?
No, I just have a couple of rules. I don't know if it's a strategy.
You're clean right now.
Sure.
So is this better now? Your life now, clean with your children?
Yeah,
is
no,
it better
it's perfect.
than
It's not
being
better.
on drugs?
It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. No, it doesn't compare. They're whole different realities. There's great things about both, but what I'm harnessing now is absolute, focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting. It's exciting. I've come back from a place that people can put labels on it and they can figure all this stuff out. They can try to normalize it, boring, stupid, and that's fine. But for me, it's I've just answered to a higher calling, and it happened in the blink of an eye, and I'm totally excited by it.
Are you worried you're going to relapse?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not going to. Period. The end.
But how do you
I blinked
know?
and I cured my brain. That's how. Everybody has the power. It's because everybody, can't is the cancer of happen.
Mm-hmm.
Can't is the cancer of happen. I can't do it. The Nike slogan doesn't say just try it. Oh, okay. Just try it. No, just do it, man.
But you love to party.
I mean, what's not to love? Especially when you see how I partied, man. It was epic. The run I was on made Sinatra, Flynn, Jagger, Richards, all of them just look like, droopy-eyed, armless children.
When you look back at the last time you used drugs, are you disgusted with yourself, or do you think, how could I have done that?
I'm proud of what I've created. It was radical.
You're proud of that party moment?
Of course. Why wouldn't I be?
Drugs?
No,
Why would you be?
Because I expose people to magic. I expose them to something they're never otherwise going to see in their boring, normal lives. And I gave that to them. I may forget about them tomorrow, but they'll live with that memory for the rest of their lives. And that's a gift, man.
One of the women said that she was afraid she might OD. One of the women who was here.
What's that got to do with me?
You're showing them the party.
That's got nothing to do with me. That's all on her. And if she does, I'm sorry.
You say that you like the feeling of being on drugs, and it's exciting and fun.
Not anymore. It bored the hell out of me after a while. I was like, okay, let's try something else.
How can anyone believe that you will stay clean, given your track record?
I'm not interested in what people believe. I'm interested in what I believe, and I believe in the truth. And that's what rules me.
And Charlie Sheen did end up taking that drug test while we were in his home. He passed the urine test, but also took a more comprehensive blood test that would reveal if even more drugs were taken.
So Sheen, in this video clip, adamantly refuses to allow the interviewer or society to label his behavior as deviant and to stigmatize him. The labeling. Social control of deviant identifies varies. In some cases, identities are made illegal. In some cases, infrastructure excludes people. And in some cases, societal rules only represent the dominant group. So, for example, when gay men were arrested for having consensual sex, when bathrooms are not accessible to people who use wheelchairs for mobility, or making only Christian holidays statutory holidays. Deviance versus crime. Deviance involves actions that violate social norms that may or may not have formal interventions attached to them. Crime is a violation of formal social norms and requires formal intervention. And sociologists are interested in how some behaviors come to be defined as deviant or criminal, while others do not. So the key points in Unit 7, when a norm is violated, is referred to as deviance. We often think of the word deviance as something that is negative, but it is not. It simply means something that is different from what society considers to be normal. Deviance is relative. It can change over time, place, and social context. Social control uses systematic practices to encourage conformity and discourage deviance. Crime is a violation of formal social norms and requires formal intervention. Coming up next is Unit 8, Criminology, also Chapter 10 in your textbook.